What's good, beautiful people? How y'all doing tonight? We are here for another episode of the Drama Free Black Love series. And this series was created for us to have conversations, not only with a licensed therapist, but also that actually relates to the thing that's happening with relationships overall inside the Black community. So I'm Jasmine Dr, aka the Pretty Plug, and I have.
Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Alicia. How are you doing? I'm with Coaching with Dr. Alicia, and I'm a social worker, college professor, couples therapist, and I also do therapy with individual people. Hello everyone. How you doing, Jasmine?
We doing good. We doing good. We have a really good topic tonight. And tonight's topic is going to be on, I would definitely say, the expectations when it comes to relationships. And that comes if you're single, that comes if you're married, that comes if you're in the dating stage, and it has to do with the expectations. But I do have a really cool icebreaker that I want us to do. So during this episode, we always want to cover transparency, healing, and compassion. So I want to go ahead and get into tonight's video. And y'all bear with me, it will take just a little while.
And 7 baby mamas. Now, for the past few days, I've been going live, telling my story, speaking my truth. And a lot of women having an issue calling me a deadbeat because I tell them I was being irresponsible, yet not wearing protection. But I always tell these women that I got pregnant that I do not want to be a father to these children. I offer to pay for the abortion. Majority of times, they'll either take the abortion or they'll take a plan B. But only these 7 have kept these children. But the crazy thing about it is they want me to be responsible for some children I told them I did not want. So for some years now, some of them been trying to get in contact with me, access denied. Because I don't really know why you're trying to get in contact with me. I done told you I did not want them kids. So don't expect me to be responsible financially, emotional, spiritually, mentally, or physically with some kids. I got 7 kids.
So, I mean, we could definitely keep listening to
I don't give
him.
when nobody think about it. You're not going to force children up on me. Yeah, we both made the decision to lay down and have intercourse. We both was irresponsible about the decisions we made that night. Yeah, I could have pulled out, but I didn't. And I ain't care to pull out because I'm not the one that's going to have to carry a baby for 9 months. It's the woman. In my opinion, women should be more careful on who they sleep with. Because you're going to be like, one of my baby mamas trying to find me so I can financially support a kid I done told her or them I did not want. Another thing is, these just jump off. These are the type of women that I ain't even had to do nothing for. The bare minimum, but they gave me access to their body, and they think I want to be a father to a child for one of them? Like, you don't take accountability. Yeah, I do. I just don't give a you ain't gonna force these children on me when I told you I ain't want them. Yeah, I can offer to pay for abortion, but at what point can I force a woman to go get an abortion? I cannot. A woman say, my body, my choice, but I say, it's my life, my choice. Before y'all try to stitch this.
Okay, so this was a lot.
He's right though, Jasmine. Jasmine, he is so right. He's correct.
So this is the point. Like when I was scrolling, I was like, okay, who is this man talking? You know, that's your first reaction when you get on social media. Like, okay, this obviously he's on TikTok. He's gotten a lot of views. That's why the Shade Room reposted him. And then he starts talking about, you know, the fact that he does have 7 living children with 7 different women, and he was upfront with each, and I truly believe he was, because his energy not giving it, he was lying, that he was
He's not a
upfront
liar.
with each and every one of them that A, he didn't want children, and B, you know, if you do wind up getting pregnant, you know, he'll help you to change that situation for you. And so I was just like, wow, like, can we look at this from both the man's side and the woman's side on like what even goes through a process like this? Like you're meeting somebody and, you know, obviously y'all agree to have sex. That's it. Y'all both agree to have sex. And then this is the results behind it. Like, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I'm looking at it from his perspective because he's the one that shared his perspective. He's
Yeah.
100% right. He's 100% correct. He was very upfront with these women. He told them what it was. He said, I am not at all interested in being a father. That is not the kind of person that you would want to reach out to and say, could you please be a father to your child? If he's not interested in being a father, I really think you need to move on because you
Yeah.
definitely don't want to force somebody into a situation where it could be possibly damaging. Sometimes it's better, and this is a perfect scenario of how sometimes it may just be better to tell
Mm.
your child, you know, your father is just not around and it has nothing to do with you, but you can still live your life in a way where if you were to force this child to have interaction with him, it could be absolutely more damaging than an absentee father. So that's unfortunate that those women decided to just get with him and to be with him in that way is very unfortunate. But I have to give him a lot of respect, not for his necessarily for his perspective, but the fact that he was honest and transparent with us. He was honest and transparent with the women he was with and said, I don't want this. So that's the kind of scenario that a lot of men feel, but they don't say. So what they end up doing is they end up coming up with excuses and coming up with lies and coming up with reasons and creating a whole lot of commotion and possibly damaging their children in the process. So at least he was upfront and honest, and that part you can respect. Now for the women, I wonder why the women were in such denial about what he was saying. Like, why contact someone and get a hold of someone and they say they're absolutely not interested at all in them? They
Yeah.
would just, what did he call them? Jump offs. If that's
Yeah.
what you were to him, he don't want nothing to do with you. Why pursue a relationship with somebody and they just don't want it? You're wasting your time. You're worth more than that anyway, right?
Yeah.
So some of these women I think need to really listen to me. This is when they say men need to be heard. This is a perfect example of women. They need to really hear men when they actually say this and don't think that they're playing around or they don't really mean it. I mean, I think he really means it. So
Yeah.
he's got 7 kids walking around. He's not at all right now interested in developing a relationship with them. I think that if he were to get in contact with his kids, he probably would be damaging to them. And so, unfortunately, this is a situation where it's better off that they just leave him be, move on with
Mm.
their life, and learn from this lesson. All those
Yeah.
7 women, they need to learn. Like when someone tells you, what do they say? What is it Maya Angelou? When they say, so when someone tells you who they are, you need to believe
Believe them.
them.
Believe them. Yeah. And so that's the scary part, right? Like he said exactly what he was going to do, how he was going to move, how he was going to operate. What then makes the woman feel like, oh, I can change this, or I'm gonna have this baby, and then that's gonna also change the situation, or I'm gonna be the one that make him different. Like I think that in itself can be something that can help all of us, which is understanding we can't change nobody, and also taking the responsibility for ourselves to say, why did we think that we could in the first place? And I think that that happens often where maybe you're in a relationship or that person tells you exactly who they are and you're like, nah, I'm gonna be different. Nope, he gonna change for me. And it's just like, where do we get that mindset from? Why do we think we could change folks?
I think that I not only change people, but I think maybe those women felt like they could fix him.
Mm, yeah.
Like, I'm gonna fix him. You remember the Grinch that stole Christmas? How it
Yes.
was this fairy tale about how he was a
Yes.
humbug, so to speak, and he stole Christmas from
Yes.
the Who's or whatever, from whoever it is, and then some big, beautiful intervention happens and his heart grows into something big. That's just on TV.
Yeah.
That now I'm not to say that it won't happen. Maybe one day he'll wake up and say, I really feel like I need to establish a relationship with these 7. But I don't know if it even in reality happens overnight. But where he is right now, I think we need to stop fixing people. Yeah, he's probably damaged. He knows he's way, and he's saying, you know what? I'm damaged. I don't want to be with anybody. I don't want to have that type of responsibility. I can't take it. And it's
Mm,
not our job to fix people. He's not open to be fixed. He seems to be quite comfortable with who and what he is. The rest of us need to catch up with him.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And to your point, we do need to catch up. We need to know exactly what it is that we want, what we are going to do, what we're not going to do, and to be able to communicate that. Now, I guess the unfortunate part is these 7 kids and how they'll grow up. And even though their father was very upfront before the beginning of even them being conceived, you know, how are our Black families being affected by this? This is the only person that I'm pretty sure this is happening to, or these aren't the only 7 that this is happening to.
Mhm.
And Tay, for the person we're talking about, it was a video on a Shade Room where it says a father opens up about having 7 children by 7 different women, and they want to be responsible. Those women want him to be responsible. And so I'll just show y'all the screenshot of it. And essentially, it's just like, this is breaking our families up in the Black community. There are 7 kids that will grow up without having a dad. um what do you say for that?
I don't listen. It reminds me of just recently, Deion Sanders
Mm,
made a statement about his quarterback has to come from a two-parent family home, but the defensive line has to come from a single mom home or whatever. And I mean, that totally disgusts me, because first of all, I'm not trying to say that a single parent home is it's okay. I'm not promoting single parent homes. However, what
yeah.
I am saying is that you are not determined by your background. Your background does not determine who and what you're going to be. And to make categorical statements about home structure
Mm,
just based on just what you've just noticed is not something substantial, because the research tells us, okay, that yes, family structure is important. However, it's not the only thing that's important. There's a multitude of things that can come together for a child so that they can grow up and feel whole. There's step parents. It used to be that blended families didn't do as well as intact, original biological parents. That's not the case anymore. What
yeah.
we're finding is that blended families, and non-blended families, I guess nuclear traditional families, quote unquote, that actually there's not that much of a difference in terms of the outcome of the child. And what we're finding is that the key indicator of whether a child is going to be successful growing up is if they came from a loving home that was supportive to them. Maybe if your biological father wasn't there, there's a stepfather who steps in and they do a fabulous job. There's uncles, there's grandfathers, there's other people in the family and in the community that can step in and help to make that child whole,
Yeah.
okay, so that the child can grow up in a loving environment. So what we're finding is even more, just as strong as family structure, is making sure the child was loved in the
Mm,
house. And
yeah.
that is what we're finding. And nowadays, it wasn't necessarily like that. Maybe back in the 60s or 70s, it wasn't necessarily like that. But nowadays, this is what we're finding in terms of all key indicators of outcomes for adults, that it's being raised in a loving home that's important. And
Mm,
and definitely this particular person, this gentleman, um, he is not able to and doesn't want to provide that. So I think it's best that these 7 women just move on. They move on and thank him. Thank him. Say thank you for being honest. That was duh. I've now learned my lesson. Hopefully they have learned their lesson.
yes.
But they need to just move on with that lesson and love their child. And there's different ways you can supplement a child's development so that that
Yes.
child can overcome. And sometimes these kids have substance and character, and they're more sensitive to other people. Sometimes they come out to be have a lot more perspective, about how life is. So they don't necessarily, you're not doomed based on your background. That's what
Yes.
we're finding.
Yes. I
Yeah.
completely agree. And just honestly speaking, when it comes to relationships, you actually want to date somebody that's honest with you. You want to
Mhm.
actually like sign up to say, okay, what is it that we're wanting? What is it that you want? What is it that I want? And will you just be honest with me? It
Mhm.
takes a lot for somebody to be honest, but I think it's a wake up call for any woman that decides to lay down with the man and he decides, I don't want this. You know, you now have to take that responsibility, and I think more times than not that weight is sometimes left 100% on the mom. And how would you tell the woman how to deal with that weight after she did make the mistake? She didn't listen to that man that said, I don't want kids, I don't want kids, I don't want to be a dad, I don't want none of those responsibilities. What do you tell her in order to handle the weight of this now new space that she's in?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is she was, well, I want to comment on being upfront and honest. When people are not upfront and honest with you about things and you find out later down the line, you've wasted your time.
Yeah,
So you've wasted your time trying to live in some fantasy, and it just, their words and their behaviors just aren't going to be consistent anyway. And
yeah,
so what do I tell a woman like this is having a conversation with her about what I don't want to say like what were you thinking,
yeah,
but to try to process with someone about how were you feeling in this moment that he revealed this information to you. How did you
mm,
feel in that moment? What were you thinking? What guided your behavior to go along with this fantasy in your head
yeah,
that, oh, I'm going to reach out to him and I'm going to have him support this child. And I don't know how, honestly, I don't know how he can get out of supporting a child financially, because the court can order a DNA test, and if he is the biological father, I'm certain he would have to pay for it, unless he's saying, I'm not going to pay for it. I don't care what a court order says. I mean, he seems to be the kind of person that's operating on his own. He's in his own little world outside of legal system. So I don't
yes,
know where that's going to lead him. I mean, if you're the father and legally if a woman can establish paternity, I don't know how he feels like he can get out of paying, unless he's like, you know what, I'm not filing my taxes, so they can't garnish my wages. Um, well, don't they put people in jail for this kind of stuff? I mean, so I guess I would tell, some of the moms, well, you can definitely sue him for child support because he didn't pull out. So that's the
yeah,
price he has to pay. And that's the long-term price, I guess, for the next 18 years that he has to pay for not pulling out. So some of it is his responsibility, right?
yeah,
Even if you don't want anything to do with the child. But it would be helpful to process with these women, their thinking process, what were they hoping for, and what can they learn from this so that they won't make these types of mistakes moving forward. I mean,
yes,
they just gave over their body. I mean, he said that. He said, I didn't even have to take him out on a date. I didn't really have to work that hard for it. They just gave me their body, and I told them what was up. So that's what it is. So a big conversation about self-worth, a big conversation about self-esteem, um, asking them, how do you see the rest of your life making decisions like this,
yeah,
and having to deal with the consequences.
yeah.
Consequences.
Completely agree. And my encouragement is that we don't spread the narrative that there are so many bad black men that are not fathers or want to be fathers, because
Mm.
that can happen too. Imagine the statistics of these 7 women. They know who they dealing with. It's like very apparent, who you're dealing with, but then maybe not that you play the victim role. I'm not saying that, but you now spread the narrative like all men are bad, or all black men are bad, or they're or people are don't want to be fathers. Like, I feel like to take accountability for the decisions that got made between both of y'all, and just to live with that accountability. I think
Mhm.
it's going to be honestly a harder pill to swallow, with just saying, this is the decisions that we both made. Now we got to live with it. And I'm not going to spread misinformation about the person that I dealt with. I felt like,
Mhm.
because he's doing it for you. To be honest, if they did spread an information, he's like, hey, I'm clearing
I'm
my
gonna
name.
beat you to it. I'm beating you to it.
I'm clearing my name. I'm letting you know exactly what it was. So it's just like, not everybody has a baby father that will put it out there on social media about how the situation really is. But I think it will be good for us not to spread the misinformation, or for us not to say this is how all men operate, or just to completely skew the narrative about men based off of the decision that you made.
Yeah, because this guy, I would bet that this particular person who made these statements, I'm certain he has a history, deeped in very painful memories
It's like
related to
7.
parenting.
It's 7.
Huh?
The history of it
Yeah.
is like 7.
Yeah. But I'm certain, I mean, if you were to dig into his history, he has some painful memories himself.
Yeah.
He has some painful memories himself related to that. And I'm almost certain he hasn't connected with those feelings attached to that. He hasn't processed it fully, and he may never get it. It's just a great illustration. But of course, that's not the case for many black men. Okay, there are a ton of black men and black fathers who are phenomenal. Phenomenal. So I mean, it's awful. It kind of makes you cringe to see that go viral, because it's so outrageous, because there's a black male face attached to such ratchetness and clearly damaged. I mean, he's a damaged individual and he probably knows it.
Yeah.
Poor thing. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
And I think that's why all of us need some form of therapy. We need some form of like a release. We need some form of a place for us to go, share our problems, share our pain, share the things that are bothering us, in hopes to heal, in hopes to get better, in hopes to, not create 7 people living that now have to deal.
7 people.
Yeah, that's just
I mean, do you know, it's terrible. Do you know how many people there are people that I know who want to have children and can't?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how they see that video? They're like, wow, he has 7 beautiful children, beautiful little souls there. I certainly would have loved to have been a father. I would have loved to have been a mother.
Yeah.
And here we have someone who's just having these kids and not thinking about, the beauty of that life. But maybe it's almost like, let me tell you, Jasmine, my kids have been wanting me to get a dog.
Oh.
And let me tell you something. I love dogs.
Yeah.
I love dogs so much that I know I can't get one. I know I can't get one because I wouldn't do it justice. I wouldn't, like that poor dog. I can't care for another thing. Like I'm at my limit on how many people I can care for in my life. I have 3 children and a husband and a mom, and I just got all the people in my immediate family. I really don't have enough energy to go any further, not much further than that. So to get a dog would just set me. Me getting a dog would be like I'm in the water, treading water, and someone passes me a brick. That's what it would feel like if I got a dog. So I will sink down. So I love, honor, and respect animals so much that I know I can't be the one to adopt one.
Yes.
Because that poor dog would be abused. ASPCA would be after me. They'd be like, what happened? I'm like, I just had nothing else for this dog.
And something, I think that leads into our next discussion, which is expectations. Like, this stuff looks good. The pictures look good. Having the dog, all of these things look good, feel good. They're probably amazing, but the weight of the responsibility outweighs what a person is just willing to do. And I think that that's true for relationships. It looks good to have a marriage, to have a relationship, but the weight and the responsibility of all of it, that also has to be factored into the decisions that you make. Could you talk through?
No, I was going to say that sounds so good because I've had a dog before.
Yeah.
I know the responsibilities of a dog. Yeah. I've had several pets in my life. That's how I know I don't want one.
Yeah. And I had one too. And I had to give
the dog. Let me tell you, you had to give the dog. Not only that, but they do die. And it breaks my heart to lose an animal. I'm not equating animals to
You,
children,
yeah,
to pets. I mean, pets to babies, but they don't live forever and they do pass away. And you're hit with this big, hefty vet's bill, by the way. So you're crying
yes,
looking at the bill, and then you're crying because your best friend is gone. So, anyway, so yeah, that's part of a responsibility of marriage that a lot of people get into and they don't realize what they're getting into.
yeah,
They haven't they have this fantasy of what being married or being in a relationship is about, but they don't understand sometimes you get tested. Are you
yeah,
ready to be tested? Your love is tested. Everything in a relationship will be tested. And so are you going to be the person that can get through those things? And
yes.
a lot of people, like I know someone who was married and that marriage didn't work. And I talked to him and I was like, "You gonna get married again?" They were like, "I've been there already. I ain't trying to do that again." Like they ain't trying to get into another relationship. I know what that's about. And I really don't want that no more. I'm gonna live my best life and just have fun forever. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with people just wanting to be single
But
or
you know what you want. You
at
know
least they know.
what you want.
Yeah,
And
and I'm always telling them, I tell them, you're brave just to do it. You did it. You took that leap of faith. It didn't quite work for you, but hats off to you because you tried.
yes, and I think what I hear that you're saying is counting the cost. Counting the cost of the decisions that we make, not only in relationships, but our personal lives. And a lot of times we do it based off emotion. We do it based off feelings. And then when reality sets in, you're like, oh crap, this is a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be, or this is a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be, or I was not as prepared or as equipped that I thought that I would be for this situation. I know for myself, I have been there. I've already been married before, or there have been relationships and didn't work the way I 100% wanted them to. So it's just like I'm here to offer that transparency, like counting the cost, even when you're dating, and listening to the person, hearing them out, making sure you're aware 100% of like what you're getting into. If you can, I don't think nobody 100% knows everything that they're getting into. There is an aspect of faith and there's an aspect of like, you're not going to know. But to just take a step back and say, you know what, here we are. Counting the cost. There was a cost to lay down. There is a cost to laying down with anybody. And I think that's at all stages of life. There's a cost to
Mhm.
loving, to dating, and to being with somebody. There is a cost associated with that experience. And I don't think we should take it lightly. I think honestly, what I learned from him is don't take any experience lightly. Yeah, maybe y'all was just hooking up or it was just a knockoff. But like that knockoff really cost you something. It really did.
Consequences. What are
Yes.
the consequences? And the cost is weighing the benefits with the cost. Like, there's nobody that's perfect. There
Mm-mm.
really isn't. All
No.
of us have our baggage.
Yes.
And you got to do some soul searching and figure out once you see someone's baggage,
Yes.
you know, you got to do some soul searching to see if that's something that you could live with.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Can you live with that?
I don't
And
know.
sometimes you see the bag, and it's funny because we get into relationships and our baggage is in a closet somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to show you what's in the closet. I'm going to show you me. And the closet stuff, let's just leave that over there. But
Yeah.
then you're coming to me and you're showing me you, but you also have a closet of baggage.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that is just right away. So we're just sitting there together, and then something happens, something falls out of my closet, like a ball or a shoe falls out of my closet, and they're like, "Oh, what is that?" And then you have to explain it and talk about it and tell your story
Mm.
and say, this is part of who I am,
Yeah.
my little flawed self, some of the baggage that I come with you with.
Yes.
Here it is. But I don't want you to see everything else in my closet. I don't feel quite comfortable showing it to you because I don't know if you're still going to love me.
And so my question is, how soon do you start unpacking that baggage?
Mm, it's funny, there's no timeline
Mm,
for it, but I think you need to pay attention to how you feel in the moment. Really
yeah,
pay attention to it. I really think that like if you really tune into yourself and really pay attention to what's going on with your body physically when you're around somebody,
yeah,
you know, is your head hurting? You feeling in your stomach? All of
mm,
these things in your body and how you feel is telling you
it's telling
if
you
you're
something.
safe or not. Are you safe? I mean, it's just, I think like us as human beings, our body and our nervous system and everything that has to do with us is a beautiful reflection of, um, I think it's a beautiful reflection of what, of our beautiful bodies as a creation.
Yeah,
Like we're human beings living in this beautiful created body, right? By
yeah,
God and given us all of these feelings, so that we can listen to that, and it tells you this is safe to go there, it's not safe to go there. And I think that tuning into that is so important, and that's why I want to do my healing retreat. I found a space, Jasmine. I
okay,
found
you
a
found the
space.
space.
I finally found a space. I felt like I was never moving forward, but I found a space to do my healing retreat. I found the space to do a couples retreat and a healing retreat. So I'm so excited about that this week, because I think definitely the healing retreat is getting in touch with you, with your body and your sensations, and trying to figure out, because it is your way, your higher self is telling you what's going on in that moment.
Yeah,
And these 7 women did not listen.
yeah,
These 7 women got signals that this was not right, that this was not supposed to be, that this person is not the person for me. And they put their hopes and dreams probably into something of a future, knowing that it wasn't going to be there. And the other women who either turned away from him or went ahead and took the plan B, or who
yeah,
went ahead and got the abortion, those women listened to something. I'm not
yeah.
advocating abortions. I'm just saying they listen to something. So, the people who aren't able to trust their instincts and trust what someone's telling you is going on, and believing in that, and even if he hadn't said it, even if he wasn't being honest and hadn't said it, he doesn't have to say it. You can tell from that video and how he talks and how he carries himself. There's something not right with him. Like he
Yeah.
shouldn't be he shouldn't be dating anybody, right? So
Yes.
these women didn't connect to this for some reason. And so that's the biggest thing, is connect with who you are. And that's why I want to do my retreats.
Okay. So, A, love that you're having a retreat. B, how do you know if, like, obviously your nervous system or like your body can
Mhm.
tell you, I'm not safe right now. There's something that's not right. What do you do then? Do you sit and meditate? Do you pray? Like, how do you then take that response that your physical body is giving you in order to bring you back to a place of peace, to a place of serenity?
Mhm.
Like, what do you do next?
Well, what's interesting is that it's almost like a muscle.
Yeah,
And if you're not used to doing things like that,
yeah,
then it would be weird to you. You're like, what's going on? So part of it is just learning about your body, recognizing what it's telling you, getting in tune with that, and getting comfortable learning about who you are and responding to that. It's like saying, it's trusting your intuition and the things that come up for you, and not only believe in him, but believing how you feel while you're interacting with him, right? With people like that you know it's not going to serve you well,
yeah,
and it's not going to fulfill anything that you want in your future. So it really is a thing you have to practice and test yourself. Test
yeah,
yourself on it and say, you know what, I kind of feel like this. Like I have a book where I just like I write down, I journal, I write down all my thoughts and feelings. I predict things and see if it's going to turn out that way. I always have a system in place to test myself to make sure that it's gotten strong. It's pretty strong. I'm pretty confident in my
yeah,
intuition and my gut feelings about things. And there have been times where I wasn't confident in it and I didn't listen to myself, and dang it, sure enough, turned out. I knew it was going to turn out that way. And I'm kicking myself in the butt for not listening to myself. So it's always reinforced in my life times where I don't go with how I was feeling and what was happening, you know. And it's important to test it. So, you know what? I feel like something's not right here. This isn't right. You can test it, cautiously, to make sure that what you're reading is correct. But sometimes I surprise myself, Jasmine, how accurate I am about things. And then many times, me and my husband, Dr. Boyce, and I'll whisper something in his ear, and I'll be like, "Watch, watch." And he, if he's really being honest with himself, he'll come back to me and say, "Guy, this look what you said was gonna happen." And sure enough, it
Yeah.
happened just as you said. It's really fascinating. And sometimes I surprise myself how accurate I am. So it just takes practice.
Yeah, and I feel like you're basically referring to like discernment too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, I'm in this situation, I'm in this experience, this doesn't feel right. Not only am I going to write it down, but I'm going to act on it to get myself back to a place of peace. I think that's good.
Yeah,
For
and the signal gets stronger the more you use it. And it's almost like your body is saying, "Oh, she's listening to me now. Let me tell her more stuff." You know what I mean? Let me it's like it's like it's like your higher self is cheering you on, for a lack of a better term. I like to call it my higher self. It's cheering you on, like, "Oh, she's paying attention to us. Let me just give her some more." So that's how it becomes stronger, for sure.
Okay. Is anyone that's listening, do you all have any questions, or do you all have like, some thoughts about what we talked about today, whether that is, taking stock and like counting the cost of what it takes to be with someone else, but also listening to what someone else tells you when they say it, how they feel, what they're talking about, and like not trying to project what it is that you want from them on them when it didn't come from them. I don't know if that made sense, but I feel like I really tried to hit that there. But is there any comments, any questions on that? We're super glad that each of you all are joining us tonight. And our biggest thing that we want to talk about was just like the expectations of relationships. And, obviously we brought up a man that went viral and he told many women exactly what he was going to do. And at the end of the day, they did not listen.
But I bet they hear him now. They hear him loud and clear. He's consistent. His
Yeah.
words and his behavior was very consistent. So you can trust that. You
And
can
you
trust that he
always,
came through. He did it. He did exactly what he said he was going to do.
yes, and you always hear it after. Ain't that crazy? Like you always like, oh, they told me, or oh, I should have listened, or dang, yeah, they did say that. Like it's always afterwards. I'm still trying to figure out like when you're in that moment, why you're not necessarily listening, or when you're in that moment, why you're not necessarily like paying the most attention. Maybe it is like just the desire of like, oh my gosh, this is gonna happen. Like you're in your, I guess you would say like your emotions, or you're experiencing this. Oh my gosh, this could be different. Things are gonna go different, and it's just like when it comes back down, it's like no, this was not it.
This was not it. Isn't
This was
that
not.
something?
Yes. Okay, if we don't have any questions or concerns, let's see. I'm just over
Comments.
or comments. Yeah, if we don't have any of those things, I really want to make sure that as we're doing this series, we're asking you all, what do you want us to talk about? What are you enjoying? What are you not enjoying? I've read some of the comments in the past, y'all.
What's the comments, Jasmine? I'm clear. What's the comments say?
Listen, a lot of the comments after I went on that TV show, folks was like going in on me. They was like, Jasmine just capping. Like it was some negative stuff. Okay, some of it was negative, but also like,
What?
yeah, I went through again. That was an era in itself. But as far as like comments on if what we're doing is good, I do feel like we'll always have that one or two people that'll be like, this is good, this is good. But we want more from y'all. We need y'all to tell us what it is that you would like to know in order to strengthen relationships, strengthen your questions, or strengthening your dating process. I get to speak for the singles out here in this and say, hey, I'm with y'all. Like, I know what it's like not to have nobody, but also like as you're navigating that space, what does that look like? And then Dr. Alicia, she's like, hey, I'm married. I'm able to help navigate us all through this process, but then from the lens of a therapist, the lens of a licensed therapist as well. And I don't know if a therapist can be unlicensed, but I like saying the licensed part.
There are a lot of unlicensed people that like to think that they could be
Yeah,
licensed.
okay. It's
Not.
a lot. It's a lot of rules out here. Um, but definitely, like, we want to just take you all through this journey with us as we navigate having the conversation. So, anything else from you, Dr. Alicia? I feel like tonight was a good talk. Like
I like it.
when I watched that video, I was just like, dang, this is actually happening. This is a thing. Like, he is straight up. And it's a lot of people that will get on the internet and they will tell you the truth. I just pray we as people listen to them, and we as people like really learn how to navigate truth and honesty.
And stay away from people. I mean, he's telling you. I mean, you have to ask yourself, what is your future going to be like with somebody like this? You know,
Yeah.
where do you see it? You know, where do you see it heading? And and is that the future you want? You're gonna attach yourself to that, then there are consequences to that. He
Yeah.
ain't got no love for you. He's got no love for himself. He can't have no love for anyone else. Clearly, that's clearly
Yeah.
the case. Clearly.
And I'm almost concerned as to like what took place in order for him to get close to these women. Like, what was he saying? Maybe that was when he was lying then. That's probably when he
He said I didn't have to do much of nothing. He said I didn't have to do nothing. I told him what was up, told him what, hey, I don't want no kids. Here's the plan B. I mean, he went through the whole, I think he left nothing really to be questioned. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't leave any blank spots out. I think he kind of filled it in for me. I kind of know what those conversations were like. Hey, that's what this is. I'm a pleasure seeker, and that's what we're doing.
Dang.
That's it.
Well, for those 7 ladies, my heart not only does my heart go out to you, but just recognize like it has to get better. Like, if you are one of the victims here, and I don't even think I'm going to use the word victim lightly, just know it has to get better. Like, it has to get better. Whatever situation you're in right now, it has no other way but to get better. And it's a lesson learned. And I think in life, there are no ills, there are just lessons.
That's right. So they got beautiful children, hopefully, and hopefully they spend their time raising these kids properly and supplementing, making sure that the children have a nurturing environment, which is so key, right?
Yeah.
Having a nurturing environment, and just I would focus on that, giving your
Yes.
child a loving environment.
Yes.
So they can grow up and not say some of the things that this gentleman said, because I'm certain he did not grow up in a loving environment.
No, couldn't have been. But you guys, we want to thank y'all for tuning in on another Tuesday night where we talked about a drama-free Black love. And we'll see y'all next week for another episode. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye-bye.